In this daily drop, we're going to talk about 3 ways that you can spark creativity and inspiration for your work. So let's go. Okay, here in the United States of America, we are heading into Thanksgiving week. It's a little chaotic for many people. Travel, family, friends, all of that kind of stuff. And we will have a daily drop here every day of the week. But today I wanted to talk about kind of that downtime that you might have, or also times where you just feel stuck creatively. You don't have any inspiration. And when we're stuck in it and we're just doing things, whether it's productive or not, there are, at least for me, some things that I do, or at least I have to remind myself to do and then do, that can help me spark creativity, inspiration, and really get me going again. So number 1 for me is really just getting out there and getting space. So it's going for a walk, it's taking a drive somewhere, it's going to a location, for me sometimes with a camera, and just spending time looking outwards. We're staring at so many screens nowadays. You know, we're sort of, especially if we do post-production, really staring at screens, that it's a lot of this and not a lot of that. So you're doing something creative a lot of the times, but you're not getting that space that may really help. So sometimes just open the door and take 10 or 15 minutes, even if it's an inconvenience, and just try to take a walk or get in the car and take a drive somewhere. And I think that is something that's helped me many, many, many times over the years. Number 2, this one is maybe obvious, maybe not, and maybe easier for some people than others. But if you live anywhere near galleries or museums, places of art, go to them. Just spend time. It's kind of like an extension of the getting space, but it really is a lot different because, at least for me, when I go to a museum or a gallery, I'm still consuming. It's not a screen, it's not moving images, it's not social media, but it's getting inspiration from other artists. There's usually a ceiling for me where it's just too much, and I don't know if anybody else except for me, I know my wife experiences it, where we'll go to an amazing museum, and at a certain point, while we want to spend the whole day there, we've just experienced and taken in so much art and have sort of hit a place where we've been inspired, but more is just overload. So I don't think that's a bad thing, but if you can, go and see an exhibit, go to a museum. If it's a museum that has different galleries, maybe go from a modern, wing or gallery to something that's totally different than that, maybe Renaissance or whatever it's going to be. If you live, obviously, in places like New York, Paris, London, Los Angeles, you're going to have access to things like, for instance, in LA, when I'm there sometimes just to get space, I go to the Getty Center. Amazing. And it just sort of calms me. It gives me inspiration, and I get to see wonderful art. And number 3 for me is something that I have to remind myself to do, but it really, at least in terms of what I do for a living, helps me focus on and see things a little bit differently, which is take great television or great films, probably great films first, and watch them without the sound on. And this can be films or television that you're familiar with or not familiar with. Maybe start with ones that you're familiar with and just turn the sound off and just watch. And you're consuming and taking that in a completely different way than if you are immersed in both picture and sound. And what you'll find is that you see things in that content that you wouldn't normally see. You're, yes, paying attention probably to things like lighting, but you might look at blocking and where, foreground, middle ground, and background elements are. And just sort of the way the scenes are cut together, it's just a completely different perspective. So those are 3 things that I think could spark creativity and inspiration for you. And they can be done, depending on where you are, pretty much any time, especially number 1 and number 3. But even if you're in a smaller area, more hometown area, there's usually local artists and galleries. We have them around here, and I'm at least an hour away from Portland where the museums are. But there's still places to get that inspiration. Okay, don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.